Hey guys, it's Mugen Lore here,
Ill Lancer.
And the Extract.
and today we're going to talk about the demo to Final Fantasy Origins.
Yeah.
And before we even get into that, I just want to give you guys a brief history or a background about how this came to be real quick. Is because some people didn't see this coming, some people didn't expect this coming, some people were scratching their heads all about this. But if you guys remember, on my YouTube channel, my Mugen Lore channel, I talked about this about a year ago, I believe, or 2 years ago, that there's rumors that was going around that Square Enix was supposed to release their own Dark Souls type of game with Final Fantasy, and I thought that was pretty interesting. They said it was going to be a Dark Souls game with Final Fantasy elements and party members. And I remember at the time where I posted it in Facebook groups, a lot of people saying, "Man, that ain't going to happen. That's bull. That just sound like a fan dream right there." And then as we got close to E3, more leaks and information dropped saying, "Yes, this is definitely a thing, and it's called Final Fantasy Origins." And then we finally seen it at E3, and it got mixed vibes from the community. Some people are interested in it and looking forward for its release, while others are kind of like I'm not really impressed by it. And some people are just downright saying no, not at all. This shouldn't even be a thing. And then of course the issues with the fact is that after they announced it, it had a troubling startup as far as the demo is concerned. It pretty much glitched out at the PlayStation store for the PS5, where people couldn't even download or even play the demo at all. So a day later, Square Enix got a hold of it, fixed the demo, and put it out. So I came downstairs and saw Keel Lancer. He was starting the game. I was like, oh wow, did they fix the demo already? So DX Strike and all of us hopped on our PS5s, and just for you guys to know, yes, this is only a PS5 demo release. So we're going to give you our thoughts and what we think about Final Fantasy Origins. This time we will start with Keel Lancer. What do you think about this game?
Well, I was the first to jump on, so when I got onto the game, it kind of like shook me up a little bit, was because of how the game looked. And because the game has to be revitalized and tweak with graphics and stuff like that, because it comes out next year, so they still have time to work on it. It seemed to me this was like an alpha type of structure. But when I got onto the game felt comfortable. It feels like a Souls game. How you attack, how you move around, and so forth and so on. But the thing that blew my mind was the class system. And the class system had classes from the classic Final Fantasy games, like from Order of Nintendo all the way on up to today's Final Fantasy games. And as everybody knows, from the Final Fantasy community, but also the Dissidia community, I use Kane from Final Fantasy 4, I believe, and he's a Dragoon. But also in Final Fantasy 14, I use a Dragoon class. Now, I didn't know that there were multiple different classes on the game as you level up, but the moment I got to the part where I was able to level up my Lancer class to a Dragoon, it blew my mind. The fact of the matter is that I was able to unlock a special ability called Jump. The combat, to me, runs fluid, runs pretty good. What are minor little tweaks that they can do to it, but as far as though, I was impressed with the game, and I'm going to give it off to DX, and he's going to fill you in on some other details.
I enjoyed it. At first, I was like, yeah, this is good, it's just like a Neo Final Fantasy, besides like the character, designs and stuff like that, it said Final Fantasy, even then down to the castle, and the battle music is amazing too.
Yeah.
I was wondering how they was going to implement that, and I wasn't really seeing anything Final Fantasy until I found out, they had the whole class system, whatever. And then it started going deep in with the magic system, whatever. This game is heavily based on magic, so you don't have to worry about racking up points and putting it into your health and all that stuff like that. It's just like a whole job system, and each job has its own points within that. And you don't have to worry about when you die and you pick up stuff. You pick up where you left off, and if you die, you don't get those points back. You don't have to worry about that. So I was like shocked at how deep. I feel like this is the most deep that a Souls type game ever went. And as I started unlocking more stuff as far as the jobs and all that, I just got hooked, and I'm like, man, like I'm sold. I can't wait till the game comes out, and like the frames are good. It dips a little bit. They definitely can spruce up the graphics just a little bit more. And God, please change those freaking names. Those names are so basic for Final Fantasy, please. Oh my God, the main character's name is Jack. Jesus Christ. But I liked it. I thought it was dope. I had a good time. I wasn't expecting them to let the demo last so long. I played that demo for over 4 hours. I was on that zone for over 4 hours, just trying to level up everything, trying to see, how far it can go, and hopefully it can go a little bit deeper than what they showed us, whatever. So I'm excited.
Oh, nice. Now, as far as my opinion is concerned, I definitely wanted to elaborate what DX Striker was saying. He said when he first hopped on the game, he was pretty much saying that he didn't get that Final Fantasy feel at first. Now, I want to elaborate on that part because the thing is, for me, I like the game. The only thing, it seemed like they more so got the Neo side of things really nailed down and stuff. Now, as far as the Final Fantasy vibe and Final Fantasy feel, it doesn't really, to me, in my opinion, it haven't really nailed the Final Fantasy feel or vibe to it. Like, perfect example, like, this is supposed to be set place in the world of Final Fantasy 1. Now, Final Fantasy 1 is much more, even though he's in a tower and everything, is much more, that world is much more fantasy, it's more bright, it's much more colorful, and it seemed like that every Souls game, they always go with this dark grungy. I wish they would mix it up just a bit and make it more vibrant, because everybody's wearing dark armor, which, I mean, like, everybody look like Dark Knights, and I wish they had much more brighter armors. Everybody look like Death Knights or Dark Knights and stuff like that. So I wish they would brighten things up just a little bit more to make it feel like you're in a Final Fantasy world, but playing a Dark Souls style type game instead of trying to replicate Neo and Dark Souls on that dark side and stuff. Because Final Fantasy can get dark, but it was never really that dark, especially Final Fantasy 1. It still had its light moments because that's what they wanted to go. That's what they was going for. So it still seemed like it's out of its environment in that regards. But other than that, gameplay mechanics is fast. It's fast paced, which I like. It has like an arcade type feel to it with the combos and everything like that. And I knew it was going to have some type of, I guess you say, deep gameplay mechanics because it's Final Fantasy. Like, especially if you add the class system. I don't care what Final Fantasy game that you play. When you know the class system's in there, expect some deep gameplay somewhere. So it was neat, and I'm hoping as the game goes into further development and as we hear more about the game that they show off in other classes, because man, like for instance, like maybe like a Beast Master type class where you can actually take over some of the monsters that you fighting in the dungeon for a little bit and use them to fight one another and stuff. I think that'd be pretty cool. Maybe ninja and maybe have like a gun type class. That'll be pretty cool. But the game overall is definitely a Souls game because I was getting destroyed. Because I'm not really into Souls games, or I'm not really that good at them. So I was getting pretty destroyed in it, but I enjoyed what I played so far of the game, and I like the fact is that how the mage class, like the black mage class, how the magic actually infects the environment. Like, you cast water on fire, it actually clears the path for you and everything. It's not just an effect that you just use on enemies and only hurt enemies. It actually affects the environments around you. So I would like to see what other things you can do to the environment as the game progresses in development, to see how much they will affect the terrain or affect walls and everything, and how you can implement that into your combo strings and everything. But overall, it was fun. I just hopefully this is just a demo, and from what I heard that the Neo demo was kind of rough when that came out. So hopefully they fix things, they patch things up as the game progresses.
Me and DX played the Neo demo, and it was pretty rough when I played it. It kept dropping connections sometimes and freezing a lot, and it was hard to access it when we first played it. So yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is too, and I've noticed that this has been a pattern with Square games lately. When they release demos, they actually ask for a lot of feedback now.
Yeah.
You know, so they asking for feedback, which means this game is a year out from now, which means whatever feedback they get from this demo, hopefully they go in there and change that. And like DX Strike's gripe too is about the character, like especially the main character, Jack. Now, in my opinion, I don't know why they just didn't go with a create your own character if that's the case, because Jack is the most generic ass main character that I've seen in a long time in a game, especially a Final Fantasy game. It's really hard to find a generic main character in a Final Fantasy game. But ever since 15 released, it's like generic characters are all over the place in Final Fantasy now, like in these newer Final Fantasy games. It's like no creativity when it comes to that. So hopefully
comrades.
Yeah. Conrad's definitely.
Conrad. Yo, my God.
Yeah, and like I said, hopefully the outfits start having different colors to them. Cause like I said, with Final Fantasy 15, Noctis and his crew was wearing all black, so everybody didn't feel like different characters. How the previous Final Fantasy, everybody had different outfits, everybody had a different color scheme and everything. Everybody in 15 was all unified, which makes sense because of the story and they represent brotherhood. But moving into this game though, everybody's armor is dark, and I understand it's a Dark Souls type game, but it's Final Fantasy. I like to see more Final Fantasy come out of it. Like I want to see some brighter color armor and stuff like that really like shows off what Final Fantasy is all about. Because Final Fantasy always had cool gear, cool armor, and cool weapons and stuff like that. But from what I played, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I just hopefully, like I said, they fix the frame rate a bit and keep it stable, and damn sure the graphics. They definitely need to spruce that up a bit, but I like what I played so far. So what about you, DX?
Overall, I think this game has the potential to be leave a good mark on the Souls game, and leave a good mark on Square Enix keep going with taking steps in different directions, but having other companies help them do side games to help us not focus on the main Final Fantasy games like 16 and the 7 remake and stuff like that. So.
What about you, Keo?
As for me, I enjoy when companies decide to give off their main franchise flagships to other companies, because it basically says, hey, listen, we can't go no other direction with this franchise right here. So we'll work on this one right here, and while you can revitalize our franchise, which will make a whole different audience for this franchise right here. And I think that's a smart move, and Nintendo's starting to make those moves too. So this is definitely getting me excited to play this game. It's Final Fantasy, but Soul style. And even though I hear a lot of people say that, oh, well, who asked for this game? I mean, come on, Final Fantasy doing a Souls game, they shouldn't be doing this from the beginning. But wait a minute, we got Elden Ring, which is the same as its predecessors and stuff like that, and y'all willing to jump on that bandwagon, but it's a new Souls type game coming out. That's Final Fantasy. Come on, it's something new that's going to reinvent the genre, especially with its class system. That's my thoughts, and that's how I feel about it.
All right, yeah, so that's pretty much our overall thoughts and what we feel and what we think about Final Fantasy Origins. Overall, I guess the synopsis is that we like what we see so far, and hopefully that Koei Tecmo Games and Square Enix take the feedback from the fans, and maybe they'll polish the game up and do the game some justice. So that wraps up this video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit the like button, because it definitely helps us out in the algorithm. And if you want to stay informed with more Final Fantasy Origins or Final Fantasy related type content, make sure you hit that bell to be notified. This is Mugen Lord and
He'll answer.
And DX Strike.
Signing off. See you Game Fiends later. Peace out.